includes all of our presences, like Samsung USA on Facebook and Samsung Tweets on Twitter, as well as integrating social into Samsung.com and other programs or activations like the one we had at South by Southwest a couple of weeks ago, and I remember seeing some of you. Now I'm here in Paris, so March has been a really good month so far. This is the first photo that my wife and I took almost 10 years ago. We're both part of the Generation Y or Y generation. Some people say that we're part of the content generation, and it's very likely that we would not have ended up together if we had been born only maybe like a decade earlier. Because technology allowed us to have a long distance relationship for 5 years maybe. It was a while. So it started with a 4-hour call, then text messages, voice messages, instant messages, Skyping, MySpace, Facebook, the whole thing. Packages, physical packages. We did mixtapes and mix CDs. So to get to know each other, we had to send each other things, collections of things we liked, so that we could get to know each other. And so through the years, there's thousands and thousands of photos, and still to this day, we assemble them, we put them into photo albums, we organize things, and we make lists of things we want to do, places we want to go to, and people we want to meet. So in a way, we're creating and curating content for each other. And more than that, we're cultivating a relationship that takes time and takes effort. So anyways, why do I tell you all that? Because online relationships are as human as offline relationships. I had an online relationship with my wife for a long time, and we had an offline relationship for a month, a year or so, and now we're married. And the point is that your relationships with your customers are in many ways similar to relationships that you have in every other, in real life, here in this room. To build a relationship, really any kind of relationship, you need to show those breathing, living, real individuals, human beings, not numbers and stats, those people that you care. And showing means taking the time, taking the effort, making things work. The creation and curation of relevant content coupled with the cultivation of a relationship leads to trust. And it's not just trust on one side, it's mutual trust. And that's extremely valuable. So I want to talk a little bit about creation. Why do you want to create? Everybody can become a content creator as long as you can get online, which is not everybody in the world, by the way. But as long as you can get online, it's quite easy to create content and distribute it with the whole world. Not everybody's a content creator, though. Many people just love finding stuff and sharing it online, and they're very selective in what they find and what they share, how they like, retweet, post a video, all those things. But the fact that anybody can create content means that all of your customers, or if you're an agency, the brands that you work with, all of their customers are expecting those brands to create content. They expect you to create some of the best content out there. We have to stop assuming that we shouldn't be creating great content. Your customers expect you to. So in many ways, we have to think more like bloggers, more like publishers, more like media companies, because in many ways, your customers already see you that way. And here's a good quote by Hugh MacLeod, where he's talking about if you're creating content, it should be cool regardless of whether you're in the industry or whether it's your company or not. So how you need to create? You need to strive to be engaging. People talk about being engaging. It's me being informational, educational, and or entertaining. And you also want to be balanced. So some people learn through audio, through video, through text. You need to do all of those things. And you need to be a little experimental. So that's why a few of these photos here show, we took all of these photos, by the way. All the photos in this presentation most of them came from South by Southwest. And people are wearing content. They're creating content. They're sharing who they are in many ways. And I think companies can learn from that. I think Ramon said this yesterday. Never be boring, right? Chances are you are boring. Chances are you have been boring and you will be boring. But we should strive tried not to be boring. If silence is better than what you're going to say, then just maybe stay silent. Content calendars. Everybody loves content calendars. Maybe it makes sense in some industries. I work on Twitter a lot. I use 3 accounts: Samsung Tweets, Samsung Esteban, and Social Nerdia. We can talk later about why I use those 3 accounts, but one of them is the official Samsung US account. And as you can see at the end of the month, of that week, is South by Southwest started. There's no way I could have planned that, because those are many conversations. Those are talking to people. So I can't even imagine Gary V's content calendar, you know? It would be full. So plan, but don't depend on calendars. Think beyond the message. Every time you send a tweet or any kind of message, there's metadata, there's timing, there's the image, the background. All of those things become the message. And in many ways, you are the message. Whoever is delivering it becomes the message. In many ways, I am the message right now. In many ways, you are going to be the message when we have a conversation later. So it's not just about what you say, but who you are. For South by Southwest, we worked with a couple of photographers. We brought our own photographers, but we knew that we wanted to work with somebody else that could really bring the spirit of South by Southwest. And we worked with Chris Krug and Ken Young, which you guys, some of you might already know. And so they took a lot of really awesome photos that we probably could not have captured because we don't know all of these people, and we're simply not as good photographers. But then again, we need to go DIY. If you don't know the process of taking photos, of putting them on Flickr, of HTML, WordPress, all of those things, then how are you going to direct others to do it? And when time comes and you have to do it yourself, you need to know how to do it. So many of these photos were taken by our Samsung team, of which nobody's taken a photography class in their life. You need to embrace real time. I think this is an obvious one, but there's some fun things you can do. This is a media wall we created for South by Southwest. It's a 12-screen large wall, and I'll tell you more about it, but there's something about something instant and displaying it immediately. And same with video. There's really nothing like video. You should capture things you want to see or that you would want to remember. You imagine somebody searching for, and you never know when something good's going to happen, so having a camera around is always good if you're working in social. I've talked to a lot of people here in the last 2 days, and most of them did not use Gowalla or Foursquare. Your customers are using these things. And maybe it's only 1 million people, maybe it's only 2 million people, but you know, at some point people were skeptical of Twitter, they were skeptical of Facebook, they were skeptical of even MySpace when MySpace started. If your customers are using it, then you should at least take the time to check it out to see what you could use it for, because chances are some of your customers will appreciate that you are showing that you know what they're using and that you're using it in creative ways. And visualizing data, not just in screens or online, but in print, something as simple as an infographic. This is one of our CSR infographics that we created recently. That one is a teaser of an infographic about South by Southwest, which I'll move it because it's not final. Another CSR one, and then that one is an infographic we created after we did our website, our new website, which has some social features. And that was originally internal, and it was so interesting that we put it out there, and a few blogs talked about it. It was something, in our opinion, easier to share than a long PowerPoint deck. Instead, we created one infographic, and it went all the way to the CEO in Korea, just because we thought, let's make it look good, and people appreciated it. And know your audience. I think this is kind of obvious, but if you know your audience is a little geeky, then you can be a little geeky too, because you know they'll appreciate that. I think this one's obvious, but we forget to integrate sometimes, and something as simple as look and feel, but also integrating social into your digital presences is extremely important. I think we're done with the days of linking out to Facebook, linking out to Twitter. Bring those things into your websites. That's why you have APIs. That's why there's all these amazing startups doing amazing things. Start doing some of those things in your own website.